Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Very Cold Lasagna podcast, your place for all those filthy casual takes on the world of sports. I am your host, DylanLasagna. This is episode number 169 of this icy yet spicy sports podcast. And in this episode, we're here to talk about some more professional wrestling that took place this past weekend. Not by WWE, which ironically is actually happening this coming weekend, but by another company that goes by the name of All Elite Wrestling. And what event did they produce this past weekend? Well, that event goes by the name of Full Gear. So the 5th annual 2023 edition of Full Gear took place this past Saturday, November 18th, and that's what we're here to talk about in this episode. So we're not going to go into first gear. We're not even going to go into second gear, not even the third or fourth gear, ladies and gentlemen. So get in your cars, get on your motorcycles, or maybe just sit in your chairs with your headphones on, and maybe even grab some popcorn too, because we're going to go full gear into my late, out-of-date, totally outdated review of the 2023 edition of All Elite Wrestling's Full Gear pay-per-view. So that's what we're here to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. But full disclaimer though, I have not watched AEW in quite some time, probably since their all-out show in Chicago back in September. So I haven't watched a show in quite some time. All I've heard since AEW and AEW related news was a certain wrestler returned last month in October, but we'll talk about it when we get there. But yeah, full disclaimer for those of you that are gonna come in here, maybe those small amount of you that jump in the comment section of my YouTube episodes or DM me if those that ever do. I'm gonna say it right now. I mean, yeah, there are some things I don't know about AEW, and there are some things that I do. All right. But anyway, before we get into the crux of my review for Full Gear 2023, some plugs, some housekeeping before we get things rolling here. So make sure you follow me on Twitter. X, as Elon Musk likes to call it now. Make sure you follow me on X and Instagram at Very Cold Lasagna. And if you're listening to this on audio only, make sure you rate and review the show. Give it a however many stars you want to give it, but 5 stars is much appreciated, so you can spread the good word about this podcast if you like to listen to this in ear-only format. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you like the video, leave a comment, smash the subscribe button, and share this with your friends. Share this with a stranger. Share this with your coworkers. Share this with just about anyone that you want to, so you can spread the filthy casual takes all around in the world of sports, even if you're not a sports fan, in regards to Very Cold Lasagna. So that being said, let's talk about this show called Full Gear that happened in Inglewood, or as most people like to say it with regards to sports, Los Angeles, California. I guess because Inglewood's still sketchy. I mean, I really can't blame them. But anyway, the 5th annual Full Gear show took place from the Kia Forum in Inglewood, California. Tony Khan announced this, made this official during his All-In post-show presser way back in August. So it was going to emanate from the Kia Forum, the legendary Kia Forum, in Inglewood, California on Saturday, November 18th, 2023. AEW previously had a dynamite, how do you pronounce it? Dynamite, back in 2022. Now they get their wish of hosting a pay-per-view there. But since it's taking place on a Saturday, they had to switch up the dates. The day that they air their Saturday show called Collision, they put it on the Friday before this pay-per-view. So they had Collision go head-to-head with WWE Friday Night SmackDown. And yeah, they didn't do exactly well with that. But nonetheless, that's besides the point. So AEW, they usually air this specific pay-per-view Full Gear on Saturday because Tony Khan doesn't want to compete with the Jacksonville Jaguars, which is also owned by Tony Khan's family, the Khans, his daddy, Shahid. So the Jaguars, they're competing during the NFL season right now, and Tony doesn't want to compete with that. I mean, as if he doesn't have enough competition already with college football, the NBA, the NHL. I mean, yeah, he doesn't want to compete with his own competition within, I guess. So anyway, yeah, we had another big ass match card. Like Tony Khan's trying to make every card like WrestleMania 35, but nonetheless, let's get into the actual the match card itself. So we begin the show with the 0 hour pre-show. There are 3 matches on this show. I mean, just looking at it, it's pretty substandard to, well, a lot of meaningless filler. And one of those meaningless filler matches was the overall opening match of this show. The Ring of Honor World Champion Eddie Kingston taking on Jay Lethal. I don't know why this match happened. I don't watch Ring of Honor, nor do I care about Ring of Honor. Like, why are they trying so hard to integrate Ring of Honor into AEW? Like, I'm not here to watch AEW for Ring of Honor, nor are certain fans of AEW here to see Ring of Honor stuff. If you want to watch Ring of Honor, go watch Ring of Honor. I'm like, if you're here to watch AEW, you're here to watch AEW. Like, Tony Khan is trying to integrate way too much, way too fast here. So anyway, most of this match was a bunch of nothing. Eddie Kingston was like basically in a 5-on-1 handicap match, dealing with Jay Lethal's cronies, Jeff Jarrett, Satnam Singh, his wife Karen Jarrett, and then the tall Indian dude that's always with them. So that was pretty much the crux of this match. So towards the end of this match, you had both men trying to reach for the guitar, but Ortiz, Eddie Kingston's former friend that they were pointing out. So Ortiz grabs the guitar, and then Satnam Singh is like calling out his bullshit, but then Ortiz smashes him with the guitar for some reason. Kingston reversed the lethal injection from Jay Lethal, and then he hit the back fist lariat, his finisher, to retain the Ring of Honor World title. I mean, it is what it is. I didn't really give a shit. So next up, we had Buddy Matthews taking on Claudio Castagnoli. The story of this match is, your every standard wrestling match nowadays. It's like, I want to have a good match with you, pal. And that was pretty much it. This is basically set up the night before by Claudio, formerly known as Cesaro in WWE. It's just your standard. Let's have a great match, pal. Except it's on the pre-show. They basically had this on the. They basically set this up just to get it on the pre-show. Wow, how sad is that, man? So anyway, yeah, a bunch of long, boring, useless, indie pleasing stuff here. Claudio won after spamming a bunch of uppercuts and knee slaps on each other, and he made Buddy Matthews tap out to the sharpshooter. Post match, Claudio tried to get a handshake out of Buddy Matthews, but Buddy Matthews refused. He just like shoulder tapped him away, and that's pretty much it. Apparently, they're trying to build up this like tension between the Blackpool Combat Club and the House of Black. Okay, I don't really care at the end of the day, but this is like probably the only interesting thing about the pre-show. The Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champion MJF and a partner going up against Austin and Colton Gunn, the Guns. So why is this match happening? Why should you try to care? Well, basically, in I think around the start of November or towards the end of October, MJF, in addition to his ongoing feud with the Bullet Club Gold, or as some people like to call it, the NWO Silvers, AEW's knockoff version of the NWO Silvers, he is feuding with Jay White, but in between that as well, MJF was challenged by Jay White's cronies, Austin and Colton Gunn, for his Ring of Honor tag team titles, but MJF's partner, Adam Cole, was injured pretty much 2 months ago with a broken foot by jumping down the large ass ramp from Grand Slam. So he broke his foot on that. So MJF accepted the challenge, and this time he would get a partner. That partner wasn't revealed until the final episode of Collision before Full Gear. And that partner was revealed to be Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe saved MJF from like a 3-on-1 attack by Bullet Club Gold. And Samoa Joe would agree to be MJF's partner, but in return, he would get an AEW world title match if MJF retained his title at Full Gear. So that was pretty much the kind of storyline-ish going into this match. It's like Samoa Joe would help MJF be his partner and all that in return of a future world title match. So for this match itself, I mean, they played up that dynamic, you know, MJF being very hesitant on getting help from Samoa Joe because of the stipulation, and then Joe just being a treacherous, like, angry asshole. But it seemed like, you know, Joe was a fine partner. I thought he was doing all right in the ring. He even pulled off the meme of, you know, Joe just casually walking away while his opponent's just like in the air. In this essence, you know, one of the guns missed a drop kick like midair. So the finish saw MJF and Samoa Joe attempting double muscle busters, but the guns countered it, and then they just pushed MJF and Samoa Joe into each other. And then they hit their version of the Dudley Boys 3D on Samoa Joe, and they were about to win the match. But MJF made this last-minute save, and then the guns were about to set up another, what I guess you could say, Gun D. But Adam Cole's music blared out, baby. And Samoa Joe locked in the Kikina clutch. I think it was on Colton Gunn, and he tapped out to help MJF retain the Ring of Honor tag team titles and get his guaranteed future AEW title match if MJF stayed champion by the end of the night. So I guess, yeah, that was pretty much the only highlight from this pretty much useless pre-show. I didn't care about the other two matches. Like, they're pretty much boring, you know, trying to get everyone excited, you know, in quotations. But yeah, this one, it kind of served its purpose, though. It kind of served its purpose of being there. And I know some people will say, oh, MJF's being too pandering now as a babyface, but I mean, I still don't mind it. I think MJF, you know, it still could use a fresh coat of paint after being a heel for so long. But what was interesting, though, was the post-match event that set the stage for the night's main event. So what happened was, post-match, you know, MJF and Adam Cole are talking to each other. Samoa Joe has left the ring, but the Guns, they attack MJF post-match, and then they Pillmanize his ankle with the steel chair. So they basically attack his leg with the steel chair, and they trap it. I think they did this aerial attack where one of the Guns jumped on MJF, where the steel chair trapped in his leg. I think they did something like that. And then he had to be stretchered out on an ambulance. But then before the show went off the pre-show went off the air straight into the pay-per-view, MJ asked Adam Cole, Adam, promise me, they won't take my title. He was literally like being so dramatic about it, like don't let him take my title. And then Adam Cole, who was on crutches, by the way, he was on crutches. He said, I promise they won't let him take your title. And then he just basically left with the blank stares, like, how the fuck am I gonna do that? How the fuck am I gonna do this? So, I mean, it was a little interesting way to get people to buy the pay-per-view. Yeah, spend $50 to $60 of your hard-earned money on a pretty much a nationally televised indie fed, but nonetheless, I mean, it kind of did its job, I guess. So, well, it gave you a little bit of intrigue of how the night was going to play out in terms of the main event. But before we could get into the main event, we had to get into the rest of the card. So let's talk about the opening match. Sting teaming up with Darby Allin and Adam Copeland. You're probably wondering who Adam Copeland is. Well, curious enough, that is formerly known as the Rated R superstar in WWE, Edge. Edge is teaming up with Darby Allin and Sting. Yes, we were going to refer him to as Edge because, sorry, Adam. We refer you to by the name that you were popularized by. So anyway, Sting, Darby Allin, and Edge are teaming up with each other to go up against Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, and that jobber Nick Wayne. This match was set up because, well, Edge made his AEW debut after Christian retained his TNT title over Darby Allin in the main event, which also saw that Nick Wayne dude, Darby Allin's friend, turn against him. So Edge saved Darby and Sting from a 3-on-2 beatdown and fended off Christian's coalition. And then on the following episode of Dynamite, Edge wanted to have one last tag team run with Christian, but then Christian told Edge to go fuck himself or something like that. So Edge, after this, despite Christian's rejection, he would still refuse to fight his best friend. But that was changed a couple weeks later after Christian and his coalition attacked him, and until he was saved by Sting and Darby Allin. So a match was made for Full Gear. The challenge was made by Christian, and Edge accepted the offer to be their partner. So that's basically how this match was set up. So for this match itself, there was some. It was all right. I thought it was an okay way to get the show started. What I thought was funny though was the kids choir doing Christian Cage's theme song. They were out there singing, and then Christian was just like casually walking and ignoring them. And then the Christian's regular theme song was playing, and then they were still singing. That's real Father of the Year material right there, Val. So anyway, and then for the babyface entrances, they were wearing matching gear. Edge actually had half face paint on like Darby does. So yeah, not bad stuff there. Not bad stuff there. But of course, you can't have a Darby Allin match without him pulling a Peter Parker. What is a Peter Parker? Well, watch Spider-Man 2. Those memes of Peter Parker falling all the way down and crashing down back first onto those cars, and then complaining about my back. Oh, my back. So that's basically Darby Allin. Every match, always Peter Parkering his back. And that's what Luchasaurus did by chokeslamming Darby Allin from inside to outside the ring, onto the ring apron. So, yeah, you can't have a Darby Allin match without him Peter Parkering his back, ladies and gentlemen. So Edge later on gets the hot tag after a bunch of Darby abuse over like half of this match. And, I gotta say, he looked good. Coming off that hot tag, he did this nice double team move with Sting that saw him do a diving elbow, scorpion death drop combo on Luchasaurus. But after that, you saw the dinosaur regain control on outside the ring. There was some shenanigans that ensued while Luchasaurus was in the ring dominating the babyface team. Christian was outside, getting physical with Ric Flair. Like, Ric Flair's in AEW now? Okay. So Ric Flair's there anyway, nonetheless. And he was accompanying Sting, Darby, and Edge. So Ric Flair was getting physical with Christian, but then Christian got the better of Ric Flair by punching him in the dick. Yeah. So ironically, this was payback for, I think, Ric Flair dick punching Christian in WWE, like during the pandemic. So, okay. So anyway, Christian tried to hit Edge with his TNT title, but he accidentally hit Luchasaurus instead, and then Edge chased him out of the Key and Forum. So Christian was running away like a bitch. So it became a handicap match in favor of the good guy team. So Edge and Darby Allin finished off Luchasaurus with a spear and coffin drop on Luchasaurus for the win. So this is kind of, I think it's the way that the match ended. It was like basically setting up more material for Edge and Christian's eventual match, whether that be at World's End. I think it'd be too soon for World's End, in my opinion, or I'd say Revolution in February would be the best ideal spot for that. But at the same time, you gotta have good material for these guys. And I know some people were thinking like, is Edge's AEW run already cooling off? He's been here for a month. I kind of agree that I haven't really thought about Edge since his return, because he does kind of feel like another guy there. But we'll see. It's only been a month. Hopefully, I know Tony Khan is not the greatest creative mind. Neither is Triple H and all that. But hopefully they maximize on Edge in AEW, because damn, if they don't do anything with Edge greatly over there, it's like you're basically wasting the last of his career over there. If you're just having Edge do all these great matches, pal, no meaningful stories over there, just like Triple H did, what are you doing? What are you doing? So I was a little surprised though that Sting didn't do a whole lot in this match. I mean, a little understandable because of his age, but it's just like, for a person that did a little bit more in that casket match, and then a little bit more in earlier matches as well in his AEW run, he didn't really do all that much. I mean, he did do a dive onto Ric Flair and Nick Wayne that took Nick Wayne out of the match, and then he did that double team move with Edge, but that was about it. And I'm not complaining and all that. It's just like kind of weird to point out. And what was interesting that this was Sting's last match in California. So good for Sting. At least the people over there in SoCal that was in attendance inside the Kia Forum, they got to see something historical, I guess. I mean, it wasn't a great match, but at least they get to see Sting over there one last time. So good for them. So our second matchup of the night saw the international champion Orange Cassidy take on Jon Moxley in a rematch from All Out. How was this match set up? Well, Jon Moxley, as I said before, beat Orange Cassidy in that bloody All Out match to win the international title, but Moxley lost the title just 2 weeks later to Rey Fenix at Grand Slam because a botched pile driver by Rey Fenix legitimately concussed Jon Moxley, and Moxley was left unable to compete for weeks. He couldn't clear concussion protocol. So in turn, Rey Fenix lost the TNT title, not the TNT title, the international championship back to Orange Cassidy 2 weeks later on a Title Tuesday episode of Dynamite. So we're pretty much back to square one with Orange Cassidy and Jon Moxley. So I think a day after Halloween, the challenge was made by Jon Moxley to Orange Cassidy for a rematch for the title, which was made official for this pay-per-view. And I think the next crux of this story, I guess, was that Orange Cassidy's second run with the international title wouldn't feel complete, wouldn't mean anything if he couldn't conquer Jon Moxley. So I gotta be honest with you, this matchup didn't feel as good as, I don't know, I didn't feel it's not as solid as their first one 2 months ago, because you pretty much saw Jon Moxley dominate the first half portion, and then you had, instead of Orange Cassidy bleeding, because every time Jon Moxley tried to make him bleed, the freshly squeezed would instead cover up. He wouldn't let Jon Moxley bust him open. So it was actually the reverse this time around. Jon Moxley was the one that would get his head cut open. I mean, of course, it wouldn't be a Jon Moxley match without his ass getting cut open. Just saying. So there were a couple of cool spots in there. I mean, I'm not complaining about that. Like Moxley hitting an RKO out of nowhere, and then they exposed a turnbuckle, which became the final focal point of this match. So Orange Cassidy pushed Jon Moxley into that exposed turnbuckle towards the end of that match, but for whatever reason hit 5 Superman punches on Jon Moxley, and Moxley, like, after the first 2, he barely sold them, like as if he was Brock Lesnar to the Roman Reigns in Cassidy, like it was WrestleMania 31. Like, what? We're doing that again? So anyway, Orange Cassidy hit 5 Superman punches before he hit the beach break pile driver, his other finish, to retain the international championship and then get his vengeance on Moxley by getting that win that he couldn't at All Out. So yeah, I just felt like this was a lot faster, a lot shorter than their All Out one. I mean, I'm not saying that I don't want a long match, but at the same time, it's like this felt a lot shorter than the one at All Out. And it just felt like this one also didn't really hit as well as the first one. It's like something didn't resonate with me as much with the last one. So, as I said before, it's like, why was Jon Moxley being made to look like Brock Lesnar in the finish? Like, why was he taking so many hits after hit after hit against what seemed in first glance from a casual wrestling fan, like some jobber in Orange Cassidy. I mean, Orange Cassidy, I mean, he's not really that much of a jobber, but it's just like, to a regular non-wrestling fan, it's like, dude, who is this? But anyway, Orange Cassidy retains the international title. I mean, I don't really know where you go with him from there, because his rivalry with Jon Moxley is basically essentially done from here. Because, well, I mean, what more can you do with Orange and Jon from here? Just saying, it's like not really much. So our third matchup of the night, you had AEW Women's World Champion Hikaru Shida defend her title against timeless Toni Storm. So why is Toni Storm now timeless? So for those of you that don't know this, and I didn't even know this, so I had to go do the dreaded homework that Tony Khan doesn't want to educate you. Except, actually, in this case, they actually did educate you on why Toni Storm is now timeless. Because Toni Storm, she slowly began this new gimmick, one of the very few gimmicks that are on AEW TV. So Toni Storm, she began this new character of a golden age, like 1920s Hollywood star, where she would act all deranged, not really demented, but delusional, I guess, and act as she's some big Hollywood star. And all her vignettes, all her entrances would be in black and white. And, she would like basically bring out like this whole script and then ask for her close up and all that. So, I mean, the gimmick is, all right. I think it's okay. I mean, I'll give her effort for trying. I'll give her effort for actually having a character on that show. It's one of the very few in AEW right now. So give her credit for that. So once a rematch was announced for Full Gear, Storm pretty much did everything to steal Hikaru Shida's spotlight for whatever reason, because Hikaru Shida's just pretty much doing matches and all that. So Hikaru Shida was just like confused at first, but then eventually she got annoyed at Toni Storm. So yeah, that was pretty much the crux of this match. So for this match, Toni Storm attempted to use a shoe. Like, why a shoe? I don't know. But then Aubrey Edwards, the referee, she caught Toni Storm dead in the act. And then, Toni Storm threw the shoe away. And behind Aubrey Edwards' back, Toni Storm grabbed another shoe. She keistered one out of her tights and then used it on Shida for a near fall. And then once Shida was back on offense, she was about to go for a Meteora, but on the landing, looked like she buckled her ankle. And then Toni Storm locked in an ankle lock, which Shida crawled to the ropes, forced a rope break. And then at this point, Toni Storm was like, not Toni Storm, but Hikaru Shida was kind of pissed off that she couldn't finish off Toni Storm, because she was kind of like 75-25 dominating that match. But it's for whatever reason, she couldn't put her away. So she was about to use her signature kendo stick on Toni Storm, but if she'd done that, she would have gotten disqualified. So instead, she used it on Storm's butler. Yes, she has a butler, Luther. Who's Luther? I don't know. I don't care. So she used it on Luther after Luther got in her way. But while Aubrey Edwards was dealing with all that crap, Toni Storm keistered a metal plate into her bum. And after it nearly fell out of her ass, like clearly, she had to stop. She literally had to stop midway through running to do the hip attack. She literally had to stop and then go back into the corner and then like literally keister that thing back into her ass and then run back so to make sure that the full effect, the hip attack would go full effect with the metal plate in her ass. So even though Aubrey Edwards could fully see it, she couldn't care less. She didn't care less. She wanted to see timeless Toni Storm get her Hollywood spotlight in her Hollywood homecoming as she became the new AEW Women's World Champion. I don't know. I mean, I was very indifferent on this match, but I don't know. I just didn't really care. But I will say the finish was very weird because of the awkwardness. The awkwardness of like Toni Storm just like running to do her finish, but then she had to stop halfway just to fix the metal plate up her ass. It made herself and Aubrey Edwards look so stupid. Because it was clear, like, you know, Aubrey Edwards is just like standing there, like, you like, wait, you like my mindset. If I was a referee, it's like, I see Toni Storm, you know, she runs back, and then she's trying to shove something up her butt. It's like, I would have walked up to her and said, hey, what do you got up there? What do you got up there? Like, why didn't Aubrey Edwards, like, I know it's like full of logic. I mean, like, I know wrestling is like all fuck logic and all that, but in a realistic scenario, it's like, what the first thing you want to do is go up to that person and say, hey, what's that you shoved up your ass? But I mean, it was a whatever match. And for the fans that like that gimmick, you know, the timeless Toni Storm gimmick, I mean, it had a payoff. I mean, that's all that matters. I mean, like I said, at least someone in that company is trying. They are trying to have a gimmick. And again, for those fans that like it, it works for them. It definitely works for them. So then we had a fatal 4-way tag team ladder match that involved the AEW World Tag Team Champions Ricky Starks and Big Bill, formerly known in WWE as Big Cass, defending their titles against Rush and Jalisco of La Facción Ignoble. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Dax Hardwood and Cash Wheeler of FTR, and Malachi Black and Brody King of the House of Black, or in this case of their subgroup name, Kings of the Black Thorn. So this is actually a normal standard fatal 4-way tag team match, but for whatever reason, they changed it to a ladder match. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't care. But I guess they want to have their super spot fest orgy. They wanted to get their fill on, I guess. So I probably in the minority of saying this, that I really didn't give a shit about this ladder match. Mainly not mainly because this was a jizz fest of spots, but mainly because there was a bunch of jobbers I didn't really give a shit about. But there were a few highlights that was kind of funny to me. Like every time that Big Bill and Brody King were in the ring fighting each other, the crowd was chanting meat and beef. They were chanting that in the ring. It's like two big dudes. And the people are chanting like meat and beef. Like, goddamn, you people are weird. So anyway, the end saw Malachi Black hit the black mass on Dax Hardwood, and then Ricky Starks took Malachi out of the ring. Ricky Starks climbed up the ladder and hit Cash Wheeler with the title belts hanging above the ring to knock him off the ladder as he threw one belt to Big Bill and hooked the other, and they retained the AEW tag team title. So there you go. And then during this match, you know, there was a lot of blood. Just when you thought there wasn't enough. Oh, don't worry. There's going to be a lot more. There's definitely going to be a lot more blood during the night. Trust me on that. So next matchup, we had the TBS champion Chris Statlander taking on Julia Hart and Sky Blue. The setup was Julia Hart being misted, you know, like kind of like the mist that, you know, Asuka and the Great Muta uses, except for Julia Hart, she uses like the black mist. She used the black mist on an episode of Collision on Sky Blue like a couple months ago. And then now Sky Blue for the last several weeks had been undergoing like a slow transformation to the dark side. Like she's Anakin Skywalker or something. So in the weeks prior to Full Gear, Chris Statlander and Willow Nightingale, Sky Blue's tag team partner or former tag team partner now, I don't know. So anyway, Willow Nightingale, who was also misted by Julia Hart, but she had fully snapped out of the trance, the quotation trance, kept trying and failing to get Blue out of this spell. So things came to a head when Julia Hart was misted by Sky Blue, but yet she was still corrupted. So it was announced like a couple weeks ago that Statlander would defend her title at Full Gear in a triple threat against the winners of two matches, title eliminator matches between Julia Hart and Willow, and the other one being Red Velvet and Sky Blue. And you pretty much know the winners of those matches. So anyway, yeah, this set up this three-way match between Statlander, Julia Hart, in Sky Blue. So I mean, for this match, I mean, I thought it was fine. I mean, it was decent, very fast paced, and pretty much dominated by Chris Statlander, who used her size, her power. I mean, Statlander's they're all good looking. They're all good looking. But Statlander has that nice balance. But nonetheless, she pretty much went to town on both Julia and Sky Blue, and they still don't have a lot of experience in the ring, but Julia and Sky Blue, they have formed this brief alliance to take out the champion until Julia punched Sky during a handshake and all that. And then towards the end of the match, you had Sky Blue coming very close to dethroning Statlander with her finish, the Code Blue, for a very close near fall. And then when she tried to go for it again, Julia Hart broke it up, and she tried to lock in her submission, the Heartless Lock, until Statlander went full Brock Lesnar mode. She went deadlift suplex city, bitch, on both of them. And then she went on to hit the Saturday Night Fever, her finisher, on Sky Blue, and then she was about to retain the title and go on her long ass TBS title run. But then Julia Hart clotheslined Statlander and then stole the pin, the win, and the title from Statlander. So you have a new TBS champion in Julia Hart. So the title change was a little surprising to me, because I'm not too familiar with Julia Hart's work, but I think from what I last saw is that she only been competing ever so recently on AEW TV since like All In. She's had matches before, but they were on like the YouTube show Dark. I mean, not everyone has time to watch Dark on YouTube, but in terms of a national like televised stage in Dynamite, Rampage, Collision, like it's only picked up since I think All In. You guys can correct me on that if I'm wrong, but my opinion maybe is a little too soon. But again, I haven't watched AEW in quite some time. But at the same time, though, I didn't see a lot of challengers for Chris Statlander left unless they ran it back with either one of them. So, I mean, maybe now is the time for Statlander to go for that AEW title, women's title. I don't know. Either way, you have a new champion in Julia Hart, the new TBS champion, and she brings it to the House of Black. So now there was a in-ring segment with Tony Schiavone, who was going to announce Tony Khan's next another big signing that he was trying to promote as very massive. As if we haven't already had enough big announcements from Tony Khan, man. Like, seriously, he's already done with Edge. Like, he's already done with the flavor of the month in Edge. So now he has to get on to the next one. Like, seriously. Like, how many more big announcements are we gonna have? One big announcement per month now? Like, man, come on here. So of course, once he announced, I think it was like early last week that they were gonna have another massive signing to AEW, speculation was rampant on who it was gonna be. And then when the time came for that segment with Tony Schiavone on who that massive signing was gonna be, it wasn't time for Monet. It wasn't a woman with a bad reputation. No. It was Mr. Febreze. Mr. Bathroom Spray. Will Ospreay. Who? Who is that? You may ask. For a casual fan, I don't know what to tell you. But think of Will Ospreay as the spray that you use to take a shit. After you take a big ass shit, and then you need to wipe your ass and spray it all over the bathroom, and you just spray as much Febreze as possible. That is Will Ospreay. So even though we already seen him before, the aerial ass is now all in the ass elites full time. So yeah, we've seen Will Ospreay not full time, but a couple of times in AEW. I saw his match at All In against Chris Jericho. I mean, it was a fine match, but there were times where he almost seriously got legit injured, legit paralyzed, like long term. Like, how are you gonna keep that up, man? But Will Ospreay announced that, he won't be able to go full time with AEW right away because he has to finish up with his New Japan contract until February of next year. So they're letting New Japan is letting him at least finish up his contract, which, at least on a positive note, that's fine. That's whatever. But after that, he then said that he will be able to join AEW full time in time for their February or March pay-per-view Revolution. Really, Tony? This was what you could do for a big signing? This was not a big signing. This was a expected signing, okay? This was a predictable signing. Yet the night before, you had Ronda Rousey. He's like, sure, like her name value has dropped a lot because of her bad second run in WWE, but she's still a more marketable name than Will Ospreay. Will Asswipe. So, I don't know, man. Which one is a bigger deal to you guys? Ronda Rousey or Will Ospreay? To the casual fan. I'm talking to the casual wrestling fans out there. The non-wrestling fans out there. The sports fans out there. Who do you recognize more? Ronda Rousey? Will Ospreay? And hell, I guess even Sasha Banks to that degree. Let me know. Let me know in the comments or in the DMs. I'd like to know your thoughts on that because how is this a big signing? How is this a big, massive signing when it was so damn predictable? Well, like, how? Tell me how. So anyway, we get on to our next matchup here. And, oh boy, this was kind of a doozy here. This is kind of a big doozy here. Hangman Adam Page taking on Swerve Strickland in a Texas death match. Didn't we just have one of these several months ago when I went to Revolution? Wasn't Hangman just one of these against John Moxley? Boy, was that brutal. Was that brutal watch in person. So now we're getting another one against Swerve Strickland. So the reason why this one's happening is that Swerve Strickland beat Adam Page by using some kind of belt buckle back at the Wrestle Dream pay-per-view behind the referee's back. Excuse me. So as payback, Page cost Swerve his match against Bryan Danielson on that Tuesday edition of Dynamite. And then Swerve decided to make things personal by visiting Page's house and threatening his family and all that. Was Page's family even in that video package or in that segment when they did that? I don't know. But either way, so Page was all pissed. He was all furious. And then he challenged Swerve to this Texas death match that we're getting here. And for those of you unfamiliar with Texas death match rules, the only ways to win are by knockout or submission. And of course, my dumb ass forgot the rules of that match because when Adam Page rushed to the ring and hit the buckshot lariat on Swerve Strickland immediately, I thought, damn, this match is going to be over in 10 seconds. I'm like, why aren't you pinning his ass? And then I forgot you can only win by knockout or submission. It's like, you can't win by pinfall. It's like, well, damn. This match is going to go longer than needed to, unfortunately. So, as expected, there were a lot of like crazy ass hardcore spots because, it's in the name, death match. So, there were a lot of crazy things. So I'm just going to break it down by the most noteworthy ones. Hangman, he used a stable gun, like probably the very noticeable spot in this match. He used a stable gun on a duct taped handcuffed Swerve Strickland, and he literally busted him open like 5 minutes in with a chair. Like it didn't take like less than 5 minutes to just have blood. Like a record, ladies and gentlemen. And then he even used the stable gun to staple a finger painting onto Swerve. Like where did he even come from? Like his pants? But then this was really disgusting. Like I don't know why they were cheering this. I don't know why people were praising this on social media, but this is gross. This is so gross. A grown man in Adam Page is drinking another man's blood, Swerve Strickland's blood, on live pay-per-view on nationally broadcasted pay-per-view. Who the hell approved this spot? Like, I was cringing hell hard. Why? How can you cheer? How the hell can you cheer for this spot? This is gross. Like, it's one thing, if the boogeyman ate worms and all that, because it's his gimmick. It's his gimmick. And yeah, that's disgusting too, but at least it fit the gimmick. I hope those worms were safe and all that. But blood? Actual legit blood? That's a health and safety hazard right there. Like, who co-signed that? Who approved that? Like, what are we doing here? Like, gross, man. Just gross. Like, are you guys vampires or something? Like, if you guys were vampires, like, and you guys would have melted already because you were under the lights. What are you doing? What are you doing? So anyway, they would do a bunch of other crazy spots, like using a cinder block to hit a DDT by Swerve Strickland, and then later on, Paige would do a moonsault on Swerve while also wielding a barbed wire chair, and then Swerve would even do a 450 splash, not on thumbtacks that were on Adam Page's chest, but on actual glass. Yes, actual freaking glass. Like, how the fuck does that not kill both of them? What the fuck? So anyway, the 10 count rules start to get into a little bit more effect here when Swerve got put through a barbed wire cutout 3 times literally, when Page used an exploder superplex, a power bomb, and then his deadeye finish, all on the barbed wire cutout. But his manager, Swerve's manager, Nana, saved him for the second time in that match. And then Brian Cage came out for whatever reason to put the hurt on Adam Page, but Page disposed of him with the barbed wire clothesline. And then Nana was also disposed of with a deadeye through a table. But then all those distractions gave Swerve an opportunity to hit Adam Page with the cinder block. But it was still not enough to get the 10 count victory on him. So he decided to use the same technique that Adam Page used to win his Texas Death Match back at Revolution. Choke him out, literally use the chain as a guillotine and choke out Adam Page for the win. So this is brutal. This is nasty. It was gruesome. Yeah, it was my match. Probably my only match of the night here, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, being filthy casual, I never saw the full feud between these two, but seeing the way that this feud played out, the match that played out, it definitely lived up to its stipulation. And the video package, it helped. It definitely it pretty much helped. Swerve, going into a man's house, threatening his family, and then Page challenging him to this Texas Death Match, and then them pretty much brutalizing each other until one of them almost died. And I don't know why they decided to co-sign on that blood drinking spot though. But still, it served its purpose here. And now the question is, where do they go from here? I don't know. Probably don't have enough interest in what they do next. But either way, there were a lot of nice hardcore spots here. And yeah, they pretty much pulled out all the stops to hurt each other and make it as brutal as possible. So yeah, good match here. Really good match here. I just really did not like that spot with them being vampires and all that. Tony, why did you approve that? Who co-signed that? Was it you? Was it Adam Page? Was it Swerve? Why? Why are we doing that here? Our second to last matchup of the night involved the Golden Jets, Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho, taking on the Bucks of Suck, Matt and Nick Jackson, aka the Young Bucks. So this matchup was set up because, Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega, despite losing at Wrestle Dream, they wanted to keep their alliance going by climbing up in the tag team ranks and trying to win all these tag team matches. Meanwhile, you had the Young Bucks, who had already won a future AEW tag team title shot at Wrestle Dream in a fatal 4-way match, having problem with that. They were having an issue to Omega teaming up with Jericho because of friendship and all that, leading up to this event in Full Gear. So they laid out the challenge to both Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho, and they even upped the stakes to it. If Jericho and Omega win, they get the Bucks title shot. Should the Golden Jets lose, they would disband. So as for this match itself, I mean, it was very standard, a very standard Bucks of Suck match. Get as many spots, get as many super kicks, V triggers as you can try to get. I mean, Chris Jericho was like the only one that didn't try to go for the cheap pop. But yet most of it, it was to their disadvantage because people were not interested, especially after seeing a much more grueling and more interesting bout between Swerve Strickland and Adam Page. There was a focal point, though, in this match where Matt Jackson trapped Jericho's arm in the steel steps and injured it. So the arm that Jericho used for the Judas effect was not an issue for the Bucks. And then the Bucks were like acting as bad guys in this match because Nick Jackson dick kicked Jericho behind the referee's back, and so did Matt Jackson to Kenny Omega. And then towards the end of this match, you saw Kenny Omega having to make a decision. Should I turn my back on Jericho and choose friendship over loyalty, or vice versa? So he decided to go for loyalty in terms of his partnership with Jericho over his friendship. So he decides to hit the V trigger on Nick Jackson, and then he goes Dragon Suplex City on the Bucks, and he tries to go for the One-Winged Angel on Nick Jackson, but instead Nick Jackson reverses it and uses his Omega's finisher against him for a near fall. So the finish saw Jericho knock out Nick Jackson with the left arm Judas effect. Matt Jackson super kicked Jericho twice, and then Kenny Omega vultured on Matt Jackson with one last V trigger and One-Winged Angel to keep the Golden Jets flying and snatch the Bucks of Sucks tag team title shot. So, I mean, the match, it was whatever. It did pick up very late because I guess everyone was still like kind of in awe with the previous match prior. But yeah, all in all, I didn't really care for it because it was the same song and dance from the Elite. And speaking of, the Bucks of Suck looked very stupid by even putting their title shot on the line when they could have just went to Tony Khan and said, "Hey, we want this sooner. We want to capitalize on this title shot sooner." But instead, they held onto it for too long, and they acted like they do behind the scenes by throwing the biggest temper tantrum possible after they lost a big game or lost a big toy. And apparently that's supposed to justify a heel turn? How? How? I don't get it. So anyway, you had your main event, and that involved Adam Cole, baby, going up against Jay White. But wait a minute, isn't it supposed to be MJF? Well, let me remind you from 50 minutes ago on why it's not MJF. So basically, let's actually recap from the very beginning on why this match actually happened, is actually taking place. So MJF, he's actually initially walking in as the reigning defending AEW champion, but Jay White stole his belt. He claimed full responsibility for the friendship that him and Adam Cole had, him being MJF. So in essence, MJF got jumped by Jay White's group and stole the AEW title. And in the weeks leading up to this event, MJF tried and failed to get his title back. So as we saw during the pre-show, the Guns injured MJF's leg and had him sent to the hospital, and asked Adam Cole to find a way to retain his title before the ambulance took him away. And then at one point during the show, I think it was after the opening match, Jay White was about to be handed the AEW title by forfeit, but Adam Cole announced that Tony Khan had co-signed a world title match between Jay White and Adam Cole, despite being clearly injured and on crutches. Did we all really think that Adam Cole was going to compete in this match despite clearly being on crutches, 2 months removed from foot surgery. Like, no, let's not kid ourselves here. Sure enough, MJF came back in the ambulance that took him away in the pre-show. He literally went full GTA in Los Santos and grabbed the ambulance despite resistance from the medical staff and went on to defend his title. Jay White, of course, no surprise, dominating much of the match due to MJF's injury, and eventually the Guns would get ejected from the ring because they got caught trying to Pillmanize MJF's leg again, and they got caught. So Jay White was all alone, and then MJF finally rallied back in the match after Jay White verbally abused Adam Cole at ringside, and he was basically running on adrenaline in his soul. Something Cody Rhodes was calling to him. So he even had enough adrenaline to do the kangaroo kick and somehow a kip up, despite his injured leg. Again, I say injured in quotations. So MJF later on was trying to set up Jay White. I thought this was funny as hell though. MJF tried to set up Jay White for an announce table spot, but the table said nope. And it collapsed. Jay White's fat ass gave way through the table as soon as MJF put it on it. It's like, Jay White, you too fat. And you look skinny, but you too fat. So anyway, MJF, he still decided to do the flying elbow on White on the broken table anyways. I just thought the thought of Jay White collapsing on that table is just funny as hell. But anyway, back in the ring, you see Jay White hitting a super spinning solo Uranagi on MJF for a near fall. But then out of nowhere, like minutes later, you'd think that MJF would sell the injured leg a little bit more. But then he just runs. He just literally Naruto runs at Jay White, who's taunting him on the apron. And then he just jumps. He just jumps at him and hits an RKO. Like he's Randy Orton from over the ropes to the outside on Jay White. Like, huh? Is this some kind of logic hole here? But anyway, Jay White forced like a dilemma on Adam Cole because he locked in a figure four, and Adam Cole literally had to choose if he wanted to throw in the towel for MJF or not. So he eventually did it because I think it was MJF forced a break. Adam Cole tried to hit Jay White with his Ring of Honor tag team belt, but White took it away and hit MJF with it behind the referee's back, even though I never really saw how he got blinded in the first place. But then, just when you thought people were getting pissed about the Bloodline shenanigans in WWE, the Bloodline shenanigans made its way to AEW because there was the ref bump, courtesy of MJF kicking Jay White into the referee by accident. So Adam Cole provided MJF with the Dynamite Diamond Ring, but Jay White stole it before he could use it, and MJF punched him in the dick to get it from him. So MJF used the Diamond Ring to knock out the Guns, and then Jay White for the 1, 2, 3 to retain his AEW title and get it back in his possession. And yeah, he pretty much overcame all the odds, just like Superman. So a couple of things here. MJF, like I said, still a pretty good babyface. I think the crowd buys into him like pretty well. But there are a couple problems with this match. I think they really overdid MJF's character a little injustice here. They really overdid the Super Cena, Super Roman, Super Bianca aspect, whatever have you type of booking with MJF here. Like, it was fine during the setup, during the pre-show, even if the outcome was obvious, but they really dragged it, man. They really dragged it for the sake of dragging it. But I don't know. Part of me didn't like it because, I guess it's the fact that it was super obvious and MJF didn't sell that injured leg at times, especially during that RKO spot. But I hope it doesn't become a regular pattern for the scumbag because MJF, he still has a lot of strong things that I like about him during this face run. But I just hope he doesn't become like he doesn't go full on Super Cena or Super Bianca during the back half of his run, which is now hit a full year. And then for Jay White, for those of you that still think that Jay White is a serious wrestler, a serious title contender for any title out there, cut the crap, cut the bullshit. Like he did all this crap, like stealing his title and running away with his title, having sex with his title, at MJF's title, and then all the cheating, all the crap that he pulled on at Full Gear. He still lost to a one-legged man, at least in story by say. And sure, MJF cheated too with the Diamond ring, but I mean, at least when he cheated, it was like justice coming to Jay White. So I don't care how good Jay White wrestles. If he's booked like that, you can't take his ass seriously. You cannot take him seriously, and neither should you. And there were a couple of glaring logic holes in this match. Like, you would think that Samoa Joe would help MJF in the slightest. Trying to run off the guns from ringside. Nope, that didn't happen. And then the officials okaying Adam Cole to compete in this match in the first place, yet they won't let they're trying to stop MJF. I don't know how that works. So, I mean, I'm not trying to say the match was bad per se, but this fell into dangerous levels of overbooked, and I'm already seeing people overhyping and overrating this match out there. It's like, this match was not bad, but it's just like, it's getting into serious levels of Roman Reigns, constant interference, cheating, Roman's always on top. But at least with Roman on top, it follows a solid logical point. This was like all over the place. This is really all over the place. So I know it's only just a one-time instance for now, but they got to be careful not to make it a really bad habit, especially now that MJF is one full year as a champion now. So you can't make this a habit if you're trying to establish MJF as a more serious top player in AEW. So yeah, this match was like really all over the place. It really was. So overall, Full Gear 2023, very boring show. Very boring show for the most part. A lot of it was like watching a longer episode of Dynamite, like a 5-hour Dynamite and 5-hour Collision all in one. Probably the only match that I liked out of the show was the Texas Death Match. And I know some people say, oh, it's too gruesome, it's too bloody, too hardcore for me. But my opinion, I mean, at least, you had some kind of story to back up, the stipulation. And there were spots in there that backed up that stipulation too. I mean, sure, the wrestlers I could care less about, but hey, they really tried to pull out all the stops in that match, and they delivered in that. So that was a pretty good hardcore match that lived up to that stipulation. I mean, it was nice to see the Edge there too, but it's kind of sad considering that he was in the opener, and I'm not even gonna remember. I don't even remember it. Like, just talking about it like 40 minutes ago. So kind of sad. It kind of sucks, But again, not a terrible show, but it's also one that really also lowered my interest in AEW some more, because it's just like, damn, there's nothing coming out of this that makes me want to say, okay, I'm ready to see what happens next on the next episode of Dynamite. I'm not ready to tune into another episode of Dynamite. It's like, I don't know if I'm inclined to go and check out a clip on Twitter. So I don't know. I'm just not intrigued coming out of this pay-per-view. And this pay-per-view, well, for the most part, very, very boring, very uninteresting. And again, just not for me, I guess. So let me know your thoughts on AEW Full Gear 2023 in the comments below. I know some of you will attack me for my final thoughts on the show, but hey, it's just my opinion, okay? We can all have one. Yes, it can be a stupid one, but We can all have one. But anyway, let me know your thoughts on AEW Full Gear 2023 in the comments below. What was your favorite match? Favorite wrestler for that night? I'll let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But anyway, that is it for this episode of Very Cold Lasagna, episode number 169 of this Icy Yet Spicy podcast. Thank you for tuning in, and as always, keep lasagna very cold in the fridge with your takes on the world of sports. We got a lot of content coming up here on Thanksgiving week. We already had the 49ers recap for the Tampa Bay Bucks in week 11. We have a couple of recaps for the general NFL week and more previews like rapid fire for the NFL and my 49ers as they take on the Seahawks. And then, of course, we have Survivor Series this coming weekend for the WWE and more Week 12 stuff, ladies and gentlemen, for the NFL. So stay tuned for that. But until then, for all my audio listeners out there, go check out the YouTube as well. And peace out.